Okay, I'm starting. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rodale Institute webinar series. I'm Dr. Fatemeh Etemadi, postdoc research associate here at Rodale Institute and working on industrial hemp project, and very excited to talk about industrial hemp today. Thanks for joining us again to hear about what we are doing here on industrial hemp. But there is just a few notes I need to mention before starting talking about industrial hemp. You can see me and hear me as well as my presentation, but I cannot see you or hear you. If you have any question throughout the talk, please feel free to use Q&A button to ask your question. And at the end of the talk, I will answer more general questions. Also, if you have more specific questions, my email address is at the first and last slides, and you can send me your questions and I will answer them. For any technical problems, please call Maria Pop, our Director of Education, on 610-683-1481. I should mention that this webinar, same as all other our webinars, will be recorded. It will be accessible on our website in 24 to 48 hours after my presentation. So with that, I'm going to talk about industrial hemp, an eco-friendly multi-purpose crop with untapped agronomic potential. For those who are not familiar with Rodale Institute, briefly, I'm going to introduce Rodale Institute. This is a non-profit research and education farm at Kutztown, Pennsylvania. We have 333 acres that including both production, research trials, labs, and offices. All the work we do is research to find better solution for helping farmers, and also to make connection from our soil to our food and healthy people, which is our mission written by J.I. Rodale in 1947. But why we grow hemp? We know industrial hemp, known for different uses in food, industry, and medicine. It has been said that industrial hemp has over 25,000 uses. All different parts of industrial hemp is useful, including stalk, leaves, flower, and seeds. As you can see in the picture, seeds can be used for oil, flower is used for CBD oil, stalk is for fiber, which can be used in rope, biodegradable plastic, car body, and hempcrete, and also many other use. Also, that has benefit for soil health with its extensive root and have the potential of weed control by growing fast and providing big amounts of biomass. But what makes hemp such an eco-friendly alternative? There is different examples showed that how it can be eco-friendly. Number one, hemp can be grown without pesticide, which in this case can be a better substitute for many unsustainable products like cotton. Also, hemp doesn't require pesticide or herbicide to grow as compared to the largest industrial crops like soybean and cotton. According to the World Resources Institute, cotton accounts for 11% of pesticide and 24% of insecticide used in the world. Cotton also requires using 10,000 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram fiber, while hemp needs 2,300 liters of water to produce same amount of water. This is a big difference. Also, cotton takes 3% of world's land, while hemp produces 2 to 3 times fiber in the same lands. In comparison of fiber produced from cotton and hemp material is more durable. Also, hemp is drought tolerant, so it requires little water. As you may know, the agriculture industry uses 70% of the world's fresh water, which will be increases in future. Also, there is a need for crops that use less water to grow. As a sustainable fuel, hemp is a practical source for biodiesel. While most biofuel takes valuable cropland, hemp can grow in a variety of soil and climate. As a building material, it can be used to produce hempcrete instead of concrete. And that's good to know that the demand for cement, which is the main ingredient for concrete, is increased by 7% annually, which is the second most consumed resources in the world. Comparison between hempcrete and concrete showed that hempcrete is less breakable than concrete and can be used as a form of insulation. The other benefit of hemp for ecosystem is making biodegradable plastic. Why? Because hemp plastic provides biodegradable, lightweight, and a strong alternative to oil-based plastic. As you may know, more than 8 billion tons of plastic have been produced since the 1950s, which half of them were single-use and 60% of them ends up in nature. So as you can see in the picture, one plastic bottle takes up to 450 years to degrade, while a biodegradable one can be degraded within 73 days, which is a significant difference. We know there is a long-standing history of industrial hemp. This is one of the oldest crops used for different products, but due to Marijuana Tax Act at 1937, the production decreased lately. Back in 2016, Farm Bill allowed for a state pilot program. So since it was illegal for a long time, we have lost knowledge about how to cultivate it here and prepare source information for farmers who want to use hemp in their cropping system. Because of that, Rodale Institute was one of the 16 organizations to begin research on industrial hemp in 2017 in Pennsylvania as part of the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture Research on Industrial Hemp Pilot Program. About our research, we want to learn as much as we can to work with industrial hemp like the other crops. So at Rodale, conducting different experiments, including nutrient management trial, weed suppression trial, timing trial, and rotational trial. With timing trial and rotation trial was collaborating with Purdue University, and also CBD trial, which is supported by Pocono Organic Garden. And I'm going to talk about all of them today. To know that how hemp can help to suppress weeds, the weed suppression trial was conducted, which trying to use hemp as a dual purpose as a weed suppression cover crop and also a cash crop within an organic crop rotation that includes grain crop. So a little note about rotational no-till system for those who are not familiar with that. We know that continuous organic no-till system is a challenge, as tillage is the main tools for organic farmers to suppress weeds. There are some options for reducing tillage because tillage has disadvantage for both physical and biological soil structure. By increasing tillage, the soil biological community will be disturbed underground. So you don't want that happen, as this community providing many benefits for the soil and plant. Also, it causes compaction, which affects water infiltration and runoff. Because of those matter, there is something you can do to decrease tillage. Different options available to decrease tillage. One of them is decrease amount of topsoil inversion through uses of other equipment like chisel plow in place of moldboard plow, or rotating annual crop with perennial, or planting no-till cash crop into cover crop, which terminated with roller crimper, and planting cash crop in behind with grain drill, which is rotational no-till system. So those were some options that you can do, all of them or some of them, to decrease tillage. Based on those introduction, in 4-year typical grain rotation, which is corn, rye, oat, rye, soybean, wheat, hairy vetch, and corn, as you can see in the picture, rye rolled down to soybean and vetch rolled cream to corn. But still rye, oat, and wheat, and also vetch, established by tillage as their seed are small. Tillage causes good soil contact to provide a good cover. There are two options to include hemp in that rotation. Either we can replace oat with industrial hemp, or replace corn with industrial hemp. We chose the second one because hemp is growing more similar to corn, like very tall and needs high amount of nitrogen. So we thought that might be a good option for us, like replacing corn instead of replacing corn with hemp. By choosing this option, the rotation would be hemp, rye, soybean, wheat, vetch, and corn. As we didn't have enough information about hemp, we added a crop to know more about to compare. So added sorghum Sudan grass, and the rotation was hemp, sorghum Sudan grass, ryegrass, no-till soybean, till wheat, hairy vetch, and corn. And we planted ryegrass as control plots. Results showed that in 2017, at the beginning of the rotation, hemp planted side by side with sorghum and ryegrass. And as I told, ryegrass was our control plots. In this table, you see the wheat biomass species at harvest time, which has a significant weed reduction in hemp and sorghum plots compared to ryegrass plot. Hemp presenting better at suppressing smartweed, hairy gelling soja, foxtail, and ragweed. In 2018, overall, we had low weed pressure in soybean plots as well as higher yield. In those plots, we haven't seen any pigweed, ragweed, and lamb's quarters. Also, some of the plots produced above national soybean average yield, which was 3,500 kilogram soybean per hectare. And plots with producing above 3,000 kilogram soybean per hectare belonged to plots planted previously by hemp or sorghum. So hemp was really successful in our rotation. In 2019, wheat harvested, and the wheat yield showed above national average yield, which was very exciting. The wheat pressure was very low, and some plots had almost no weeds. I didn't write the results of wheat, but I just explained it. Our other experiment was conducting CBD trial to have a better understanding of planting hemp for CBD products. We planted one CBD variety at Pocono Organic Garden Greenhouse. After seedlings were ready, transplanted to the field. In this trial, we had black plastic and crop residue as mulch, compost, and organic fertilizer. So row spacing and mulch was our treatment. Our row spacing was 122 and 152 centimeter. To know what is the difference between mulch using and also row spacing effect on CBD product. As you can see in the graph, in average, having organic fertilizer showed significant effect on producing biomass as compared to compost and no fertility. Also, in all fertility treatment, having plastic as mulch produced significantly higher biomass compared to extra mulch. In row spacing, average over fertility and mulch using a smaller in row plant space produced higher biomass than bigger plant space. CBD concentration was highest in compost treatment, and as you can see, was lowest in organic fertilizer applied. But row spacing didn't show any significant difference in producing CBD concentration, average over mulch and fertilizer. Here we have very interesting result, which showed the CBD yield. I'm explaining how to calculate CBD yield. So CBD yield is calculating through CBD concentration by plant biomass or plant yield. So basically, this is more related to plant biomass rather than the concentration. As you can see in the figure, the shape of the graph is more same as hemp biomass yield, which indicated that final CBD yield is very much depends on biomass yield and not CBD concentration. So that is important for those who are willing to produce hemp for CBD yield rather than CBD concentration in a very big scale. So as much as you have more biomass, you're gonna get more CBD yield in a bigger scale. We also measure terpene in the samples. I'm explaining what is terpene. Maybe some people don't know what is that and what is the benefit of terpene. Terpenes are aromatic oils that color cannabis varieties with distinctive flavors like citrus, berry, mint, and pine. The development of terpenes in cannabis began for adaptive purposes, to repel predators and attract pollinators. There are many factors that influence a plant's development of terpenes, including climate, weather, age and maturation, fertilizers, soil type, and even the time of the day. So different things can cause the amount of terpene in the crop. Terpenes has medical effect on human health, which can promote relaxation and stress relief, and also potentially promote focus and awareness. And that is why amount of terpene is important in the crop. In our experiment, we measured it in flowers under 2 situations to see how the situation can change terpene in the crop. It seems that air drying can keep terpene better in the flowers than freeze dried, because after cutting flowers, we put them in 2 different situations. One situation was putting under air to be air dried under normal situation, and half of them was under freeze dried as soon as we cut it from the plant. So after freeze drying, terpene will decrease by 35%. You can see in the picture that the amount of terpene was less than air-dried samples. I should mention that the measurements have done for just 1 year samples, and to confirm this result, it needs to be repeated in other years. In general, it was varied, like the terpene concentration was varied between mulch, fertility, and row spacing. Nutrient management trial was our other experiment, which was established to show hemp seed yield in nitrogen availability through compost and blood meal in different row spacing. So row spacing and nitrogen as a fertilizer was our different treatment in this trial. The figures explain the relationship between nitrogen accumulation and dry matter accumulation at hemp harvest in row spacing 19 and 38 centimeter across years and fertility. We continued this experiment for 2 years. The plant dry matter was significantly increased by increasing fertility rate from 112 to 224 kilogram per hectare. In addition, significant positive correlations were observed between nitrogen accumulation and dry matter at harvest in both row spacing. With decreasing row spacing, the dry matter significantly increased by 53% across year and fertility. Here you can see how seed yield changed through row spacing and nitrogen application. By increasing nitrogen availability in the plot, seed yield increased, which smaller row spacing allows hemp to have higher seed yield compared to bigger space. Also, hemp outcompeted wheat species in a smaller row spacing, while wheat density was higher in larger row spacing when nitrogen was limited. Just to mention that if anybody has any question, you can write down in Q&A box, or even you can send me email through my email address, and I will answer them through email. Timing trial was our other experiment conducted collaborating with Purdue University, which was started from 2020 and its ongoing project. Those trials, timing trial and rotation trial, conducted at Rodale Institute as well as Purdue University in Indiana. The primary goal of this project is to develop research-based information on soil health, pest, and cropping systems that will help organic farmers make informed about industrial hemp. So through better understanding of varieties and agronomic practices, organic farmers will avoid costly mistakes when including hemp in their enterprise diversification strategy. Two experiments are being conducted, rotation trial and timing trial. In the rotation trial, hemp varieties are evaluated in organic cover crop-based rotation system with till and no-till wedge and rye to learn if they can reduce tillage for cover crop establishment and provide weed suppression for the subsequent crop. In the timing trial, the effect of planting date on the yield and harvest quality of multiple hemp varieties, including seed and fiber, are evaluated. I'm talking about timing trial because we just passed 1 year for timing trial and have 1 year result, but the rotation trial result is not ready yet. And this is a continuous experiment in a rotation, and hopefully we have some result for next year webinar. So here I brought part of the first year result for timing trial. In the timing trial, planting 2 fiber variety, which was Santica and Futura, and 2 seed variety, which were Kenda and Erlina, in 3 dates, including late May, early June, mid-June, to determine the best date of planting to produce high yield and quality of fiber and seed in our area. And the picture that you see is our timing trial last year in 2020. And the taller one was Santica, and the smaller one were Kenda. Results showed that total seed yield was measured just in the seed variety, Kenda and Erlina. Also, Kenda seed weight was significantly higher than Erlina in first and second date of planting, but it was not significantly different in the third date of planting. So late May as planting date would be recommended in Eastern Pennsylvania for those seed varieties. Dry total biomass weight, which was the biomass yield, shown in this picture, which was higher in fiber variety than seed, obviously. The biomass weights of Erlina and Kenda were not significantly different between the first and second date of planting, but both earlier dates were higher than the last one. Biomass in Santica and Futura, which were fiber varieties, decreased significantly across dates and planting date. Concluding all those projects show that in weed suppression experiments, we found that hemp is a viable weed suppression cover crop that is of higher value than something like sorghum Sudan grass. Also, hemp and sorghum Sudan grass equally suppress yellow foxtail, while hemp suppresses ragweed better than Sudan grass. Soybean and wheat as a grain agronomic crop their yield were increased following hemp, while weed pressure was reduced. In CBD experiments, we concluded that hemp CBD concentrations were highest in the straw and compost applications as mulch. Also, plant biomass was higher in the plastic and compost application, which concluded having higher CBD yield. In nutrient experiments, concluded that hemp grain yield is increased with increased nitrogen fertilizer application, and also nitrogen availability allow hemp at a smaller row spacing to outcompete wheat species, while wheat species outcompete hemp in larger row spacing when nitrogen is limited. At the end, I should mention that none of this work would be possible without our funders and donors. I'm, as part of Rodale Institute member, very thankful of all of them. Also, I'm very thankful of all researchers, technicians, and farm crew at Rodale Institute who are assisting with farm and lab works. At this time, if you have any question, you can refer them to Q&A box, and I will go through all of those and answer them. If you have any more specific question, feel free to email me. You can see my email in the slide. Also, please check our virtual campus through the link provided in this slide. Okay, I'm checking the box to see if anybody has question. Do you have a theory behind the increased biomass yields seen with plastic mulch over compost or straw mulch? I think actually we use black plastic. So I think when you use black plastic, the area under plastic is gonna be very warm and makes the situation better to grow faster. So I think that helps a little to grow faster hemp under plastic rather than a straw or compost. But for more information, we should have more specific treatment on them to have a better result and to have more specific reason for that. So the other question is, will Rodale Institute study dioecious varieties for fiber only as opposed to the monoecious variety for dual crop fiber and grain? Rodale Institute, in Rodale Institute, we actually in past 5 years, in all of our experiments, we had fiber varieties, we had seed varieties, also we had dual purpose and also CBD. So we try to conduct different experiments on different varieties to see which one is the best for the area and what is the basic agronomic practices for all of them. If you want more detailed knowledge about those varieties that we used and what was the specific result out of them for your own farm, you can contact me, I can help you. But the important note is that some variety which is gonna be, for example, fiber in this area that may be gonna be dual purpose in other area, and the climate and soil that you used for producing hemp is very important to show its potential to grow. Jared asked for my email. Jared, I wrote down my email in the last slide. This is my first name, last name, fatemeh.etemadi@rodalinstitute.org. Hope you can find it in the slide. I see Holly question. It's a little long question about any government agencies offering incentive to farmers growing hemp and what metrics are used to quantifying this practice. Holly, I encourage you to email me. I can help with you better. Thank you. Does Rodale have a database of agronomists who can consult on fiber-only varieties best for my latitude? It's from D. D, I don't know where is your location to see what is the latitude, but you're very welcome to email me. Also, I provided education center email. You can also send your question for consult in education@rodaleinstitute.org. We can help you with any question you have. If we cannot answer you, we refer you with our consultants that we have in our center. Will this presentation recording be emailed to registered attendees? I think this is a question for our Director of Education, Maria Pop. I don't think that's going to be sending through email, but it's recorded. All of our webinars are recorded and it's available in Rodale Institute website. So after 24 to 48 hours, you can go to Rodale Institute webinar link and you can find this presentation later if you want to listen it again or later on. Can we make hemp as a pesticide, as a treatment? I'm not sure if I understand the question. Just talk about a little about pesticide. Actually, in our area, I don't think there is a registered pesticide around this area for hemp varieties, but during these 5 years experiments that we had, we didn't have any problem with hemp to look for any pesticide or insecticide. So it seems that hemp produced some chemical, like allelopathic chemicals to let those pests away from the plants. And we didn't have any serious problem with that. But the area is very important. This is not really compatible with wet situation. So if you are in a area with a wet year, so you're gonna have problem with some pest or disease, that you should go and find some registered pesticide or insecticide for that variety. If I don't answer quite well to your question, please email me and we can discuss about it. So Rebecca asked for hemp permit to grow in Pennsylvania. Growing hemp in Pennsylvania, like getting hemp permit, it's, for us, it wasn't really hard, but this is very important to have detailed information, prepared detailed information about what variety you are planting, what is the purpose of planting, when are you gonna harvest it, and what you are going to do after harvest with the yield and with the residue. So all of the information should be prepared, and you can send it to Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. After you plant hemp and it grows close to harvest hemp, some people from Pennsylvania Department of Ag coming to your farm to take samples to see if THC is not going above 3%. And then after their sampling, you have 15 days to harvest your hemp. So although you need to provide lots of information, but this is not really hard to get permit, I think. David asked for what are the nitrogen demands of hemp as opposed to corn? Hemp is nitrogen, like a high nitrogen demand. And basically it's, we can tell this is kind of equal to corn. The best rate that I can mention is 150 pounds nitrogen per acre. But it depends, it's very much depends on what kind of hemp variety you are producing, because for fiber hemp that you need a really good stock, it needs more nitrogen rate, but in CBD we need other nutrients. We always need nitrogen in a high rate, but not 150 pounds per acre for all of the varieties. But for example, for CBD, we need lower rate, but for seed, we have some between CBD and fiber. So it very much depends on variety, but if I want as a general amount, is around 120 to 150 pounds per acre, which is close to corn. So between questions, I should mention that there are other webinars coming out. All of them are free for everyone, so please sign up for them. So Jared said hemp in our area is illegal, but our country actually is illegal, but can you recommend any industrial hemp that can be used in a small farm? If it's illegal, definitely you cannot plant it, but I cannot recommend any variety for any area because first of all, if you want to plant hemp in your country, in your farm, the very first thing you should look for is that the processing situation around your area. If you have a really good situation to plant, for example, fiber hemp, but after harvesting fiber hemp, and there is no processors around you, you should throw or compost all of your harvest. Or the other hemp too, for CBD, you should be recognized what is the availability around your country or your area to process CBD oil from your CBD hemp. If there is nothing around, so how you can sell, because that's the very important and very important part of planting hemp in any situation and in any area. But if you see there is any processors around your area, it's better to check your soil situation and the weather to have the better idea what kind of variety would work for you. Are there any grants available for industrial hemp business just starting out? For the hemp business, I don't have any idea about it. If you want to do any research on it, there is some funds available in private and government institute. You can look for that. But about the business, I'm not a business person, so I'm not sure what should I say. Rebecca asked, do you grow it from seeds or plants? So we do both. Actually, for fiber and seed, we plant seeds directly into the soil. But for CBD, we plant seeds in the greenhouse and transplant the seedlings into the farm. For this year, we start working on some varieties for CBD, which we want to try both type. Part of it, we're gonna plant it through seed directly to the soil, and part of it is planted in the greenhouse and transplant the seedling into the soil. So this year we want to try both options for CBD. But for seed and fiber, you definitely don't want to transplant because there is a big amount of seed you want to plant, and it's not reasonable to transplant it. You actually don't need to transplant it. As I'm waiting for more questions, I should mention that you can email your questions, or if you want any consulting, you can send your questions to my email through Fatemeh Etemadi@rodalinstitute.org. And also you can send your question or any request for consulting in your farm to education@rodaleinstitute.org. Mahmoud asked, could you speak about symbiosis between mycorrhizae and hemp? Unfortunately, we didn't do any experiment through that, and I don't have much thing to talk about it. But if you have any specific question about that, send me an email. I can look for some valuable information for you. That's a good question. Slade asked how much black plastic is used and is it recycled or reused? The amount of black plastic we can use, it depends on how big your farm is it. Definitely you want to use black plastic or any kind of mulch for producing CBD hemp, not for seed hemp or fiber hemp, because they are seed hemp, seed variety and fiber variety are planting in the very smaller row spacing, so there is no point to use it for them. But for CBD, they are planting in a bigger plant space, and you can use it on CBD hemp. But how much you use it, it depends on the size of your farm. If it is recycled or reused, we haven't reused it. If you can find any recyclable plastic, this is different options that you can find it. Lauren asked, does hemp sequester carbon in its biomass? Yes, hemp actually is a biggest, or don't use biggest, but sequester big amount of carbon in the biomass. Why? Because you can compare it to the forest. In the forest, we need at least 20 years for trees to grow and save carbon in their biomass, while hemp can grow very well, very fast, and for example, after 90 to 100 days is going to be mature, and from the very first day of germinating, it can save carbon into its biomass permanently, and it's a very, very good carbon sequester between, and it's comparable with a forest and with trees. So how is compost and fertilizer applied to the plant? The way that we applied it, we applied compost before planting. So we applied to the soil, and this get to be completely mixed with the soil. And then after that, prep the soil to plant seeds. But fertilizer, it depends on what kind of fertilizer is it. So we used organic fertilizer, blood meal, which was very light. So we apply it with a spreader to the soil, and then after that we mix it to the soil to keep it in the soil because it was very light. But it depends on what kind of fertilizer do you have. If you have kind of a little heavier organic fertilizer, or in conventional system, you have a chemical fertilizer, you can add it to the soil before planting, or for producing CBD hemp. You can add it in different growth stage and at different rates. So part of it could be applied before planting, like through broadcasting. And then after that, after planting hemp into the soil, like CBD variety into the soil, then you can apply through row application, but not really close to plant. So, or you can add it through a spreader through all of the farm. There is different way that you can apply it, and also it depends on what kind of fertilizer is it too. Also, you can fertigation if your fertilizer is can be soluble to the water through and you can add through fertigation to the CBD hemp. But for fiber and seed varieties, you usually want to apply it before planting, and whatever amount of fertilizer you want or compost you want to add it to the field and then mix it to the soil. And then after that, you plant fiber or seed varieties, because then after that, there is no point, or there is no situation to apply fertilizer in a very dense area. Daniel asks, are there any new varieties being bred for seed or fiber use? Any new advancements on breeding efforts in general? Yes, Daniel, there is some breeding available and some progress happening to some CBD ones, which they producing some CBD that they are not at all they just produce flower, and they cannot go to the seed, because one of the problems that we have for CBD is that if they are close to any male crop, any male hemp crop, they produce seed, and we don't have any more CBD. So the CBD farm should be really far from any other variety of hemp. So breeders produced some of those CBD crop that they are just produce flower. They are not going to go to the seed. So there is no problem if they plant it close to other varieties. But if they sell it right now, I haven't heard anything that they sell those. But in seed or fiber, not yet. Actually, not yet in America. You can check if there is any progress happening in Canada or in Europe. Okay. Thank you very much. for participating, and I can just say, don't forget watching our other webinars. You can send your questions or any consultation needs through my email, through fatemeh.etemadi@rodalinstitute.org, or in education email, and they are gonna refer it to me or some other agronomist or our consultant center. So you can send through education@rodaleinstitute.org. Don't forget to check our virtual campus through the link that I provided. And I'm just repeating that these webinars, same as other webinars, are recorded. You can find it in our website, Rodale Institute webinars, after 24 to 48 hours after this presentation. Thank you very much, and bye.